Jake Morrison walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber and felt his heart sink. The room was bigger than 10 football stadiums put together and filled with the strangest creatures he had ever seen. Some looked like giant bugs with shiny metal parts stuck to their bodies. Others were made of what seemed like living crystal that changed colors when they moved. A few appeared to be floating balls of gas with glowing eyes inside them. The noise was incredible as thousands of different voices spoke in languages that sounded like everything from bird songs to machine grinding. Jake wore his best blue, Earth military uniform, but it looked so plain next to all the fancy alien clothing and armor around him. He was the Earth ambassador, and this was supposed to be humanity's big day. After years of being watched and studied by these aliens, Earth had finally been allowed to ask for membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. Jake had practiced his speech 100 times and brought along the best people Earth had to offer. Behind him walked Lisa Hayes, a tough military commander who had served in 3 different wars on Earth. Her job was to show that humans could fight if they needed to. Next came Dr. Kevin Walsh, a smart scientist who studied alien life forms and knew more about the galaxy than most humans. Finally, there was Captain Roy Bennett, who commanded Earth's small space fleet of 12 ships that could barely make it to Mars without breaking down. As Jake approached the speaking platform in the center of the room, the alien voices got louder. He could hear them talking about the humans, and none of it sounded good. A creature that looked like a walking tree with too many arms pointed at Jake and made a sound like laughing wind. Another alien that had skin like a lizard but stood on 2 legs like a person shook its head and made clicking noises with its tongue. Jake reached the platform and pressed the button that would translate his words into all the different alien languages. The room got quiet, but he could still feel thousands of eyes and other sensing organs watching him. Some aliens had more than 2 eyes, and some had things that looked like radar dishes where their ears should be. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Jake began, his voice echoing through the chamber. I am Ambassador Jake Morrison, representing the planet Earth and all of humanity. We come before you today to request membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. We believe that humans can contribute to the peace and safety of our galaxy. Before Jake could say another word, the room exploded with noise. It was not clapping or cheering. It was laughing. Thousands of aliens were laughing at him and his request. The sound was so loud and came from so many different types of creatures that it hurt Jake's ears. Some aliens made high whistling sounds when they laughed. Others made deep rumbling noises like earthquakes. A few made sounds like breaking glass mixed with static from an old radio. One particularly large alien that looked like a cross between an elephant and a robot stood up from its seat. This was Ambassador Zexthul from the Mordani Federation. It had tubes coming out of its face that helped it breathe, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like air escaping from a tire. You want us to believe, Zexthul wheezed through its breathing machine, that your species of hairless apes who still burn dead plants for energy and kill each other over pieces of colored paper could help protect the galaxy. What exactly do you think you could do for us? The laughter got even louder. Jake felt his face turn red, but he stood his ground. Lisa Hayes behind him had her hands clenched into fists, and Kevin Walsh was taking notes on his tablet, recording every insult for. Later study, another alien stood up. This one was definitely the strangest thing Jake had ever seen. It looked like a giant praying mantis, but with metal parts grafted onto its body and extra arms that ended in sharp claws. This was the representative from the Korthani Imperium, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. The humans The Korthani clicked its mandibles together in what Jake assumed was its version of laughing. Have no natural weapons like our claws or poison sacs. They have no armor plating like the Thrakari or energy shields like the Vorthon. They cannot fly like the Skyborn or survive in space like the Void Swimmers. Their minds cannot even touch others' thoughts like proper civilized species. What use could such weak creatures possibly be? Captain Bennett stepped forward, and Jake was afraid his friend might say something that would make things worse. But Roy kept his voice calm and professional. Sir, while humans may not have natural weapons, we have developed technology and tactics that have served us well in conflicts on our own world. We believe these skills could be valuable in defending against common threats. This caused even more laughter. A creature that looked like it was made entirely of blue electricity flickered, brighter as it spoke in a voice like radio static. Your primitive chemical rockets and metal projectile weapons are toys compared to what real civilizations possess. Your fastest ships take months to travel distances we cross in hours. Your computers are so slow they would be considered broken if we found them in our garbage. Dr. Walsh finally spoke up, his voice steady despite the humiliation. While it is true that human technology may seem basic compared to your achievements, we have qualities that might prove useful. Humans are very good at solving problems in new ways and working together when facing difficult situations. The crystal being that seemed to be running the meeting flashed different colors as it responded. Problem solving. Working together. These are things all intelligent species do. What makes you think you are special? The Galactic Council has observed your species for 70 of your years. In that time, you have fought over 400 wars among yourselves. You have poisoned your own air and water. You have made weapons capable of destroying your entire world and pointed them at each other. You represent everything that civilized species have evolved beyond. Jake felt like he was drowning in shame, but he had to finish his mission. Respected council members, humanity acknowledges our mistakes and our limitations. We are still learning and growing as a species, but we are also determined to become better. We want to learn from the wisdom of the galaxy and contribute what we can to the common good. The voting was swift and brutal. Out of 3,000 council members, fewer than 50 voted to accept Earth's application. The rest either voted, no, or abstained, which in council rules counted as a no vote. Jake watched the results appear on screens around the chamber and felt his heart break for his entire species. The crystal being that led the council changed to a cold blue color as it announced the decision. The Galactic Council has decided that the species known as humans from the planet Earth are not ready for membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. Furthermore, for the protection of both humanity and the galaxy, Earth will be placed under protective quarantine. No human vessels will be permitted to travel beyond their star system without proper escort and supervision. Human activities will be monitored to ensure they do not pose a threat to themselves or others. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew it would only make things worse. Instead, he stood straight and spoke with as much dignity as he could manage. The Council has made its position clear, and we will respect your decision. We will follow all rules and restrictions you place on humanity. We only ask that you remember this day and this moment, should circumstances ever change in the future. The room erupted in fresh laughter that was somehow even crueler than before. Several aliens were now pointing at Jake and making gestures that needed no translation. The elephant robot Zexthul wheezed loudly. Change. What could you primitive creatures possibly do to change anything important? The galaxy has spoken and found you wanting. Go back to your little world and play with your chemical rockets and metal tools. Leave the important work to real civilizations." As Jake and his team walked out of the chamber, they could still hear the laughter echoing behind them. Lisa Hayes was so angry she was shaking, and Roy Bennett looked like someone had died. Only Kevin Walsh seemed calm as he continued taking notes on everything he had seen and heard. The trip back to Earth took 3 weeks in their slow transport ship. During that time, Jake wrote his report for the President and the United Nations. He tried to be professional and objective, but the humiliation burned in every word. Humanity had been judged and found completely worthless by the galaxy. They were now prisoners in their own solar system, watched and guarded like dangerous children who could not be trusted with sharp objects. But Jake also remembered something strange. During all the laughter and insults, he had noticed a few aliens who did not join in. A small group near the back of the chamber had watched silently and taken their own notes. When the voting happened, Jake was pretty sure these were some of the 50 who had voted yes. Maybe not everyone in the galaxy thought humans were completely useless. As their ship finally approached Earth orbit, Jake looked down at his blue and white home world and made a quiet promise. Someday the galaxy would learn that it had made a very big mistake about humanity. He did not know how or when, but someday those aliens would remember this day and wish they had been kinder to the humans who had stood before them, asking only for a chance to help. 6 months after Jake Morrison and his team returned from their humiliation at the Galactic Council, President Amy Carter sat in a room that officially did not exist. The meeting room was buried 300 feet beneath the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and was protected by technology that could stop any known form of spying or detection. The walls were made of a special metal that blocked all electronic signals, and the air itself was filtered to remove even the smallest listening devices. Around the large oval table sat 12 of the most important people on Earth, though most of the world did not know they existed. This was the Shadow Protocol Committee, and they had been meeting in secret for over 70 years. Every person in the room had sworn an oath that was more binding than any government position or military rank. They were the guardians of humanity's greatest secret. General Paul Hudson sat at the president's right hand. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his face from battles that were never reported in any newspaper. As chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he commanded all of America's military forces. But his real job was much more important and much more secret. He was the keeper of humanity's true power. "Madam President," General Hudson said in his deep voice, "what I am about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about our species and our place in the galaxy. For 70 years, since the first alien ship crashed in the desert outside Roswell, we have been preparing for this day." He pressed a button on the table and the lights dimmed. The far wall became a giant screen showing images that made President Carter gasp. She saw human soldiers moving faster than Olympic sprinters and lifting cars over their heads. She watched spaceships that looked nothing like the clunky vessels the aliens had seen, sleek and deadly craft that moved through space like hunting sharks. Dr. Elizabeth Barnes, the director of covert research, stood up to explain what they were seeing. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her voice carried the weight of decades of hidden scientific breakthrough. "Madam President, every military action, every space mission, every piece of technology we have shown to the galactic observers has been carefully designed to make us look primitive and harmless. The truth is very different." The screen changed to show a map of the solar system, but it was not like any map President Carter had ever seen. Instead of just 9 planets and some asteroids, the display showed hundreds of installations, bases, and facilities scattered throughout space. Hidden mining operations on asteroids, secret research stations beyond Pluto, and manufacturing plants built inside hollowed-out moons. This is what we have really been doing for the past 70 years, Dr. Barnes continued. While the galaxy watched us struggle with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons, we were reverse engineering every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. Every crashed ship, every piece of equipment left behind by visiting aliens, every scrap of advanced material has been studied, improved, and mass-produced. Captain Noah Sullivan of the Earth Defense Corps stepped forward. He looked like any other military officer, but President Carter could see something different in his eyes, a sharpness and awareness that seemed almost inhuman. Madam President, the 12 ships that Captain Bennett showed to the galaxy are real, but they are decoys. Museum pieces designed to look like our best technology. Our real fleet consists of over 8,000 vessels that use quantum drive, systems allowing them to travel faster than anything the aliens possess. The president felt dizzy as the true scope of the deception became clear. "How many people know about this?" she asked. "Currently active in the Shadow Protocol are approximately 50,000 individuals worldwide," General Hudson replied. "Each one has undergone genetic enhancement procedures that improve their physical and mental capabilities by factors the galaxy cannot imagine. Every person in this room can run a 4-minute mile, lift half a ton, and process information 3 times faster than baseline humans." Dr. Barnes activated another display showing medical readouts and genetic charts. Project Titan began in 1962. When we first successfully decoded alien genetic modification techniques. Every human in our military, our space program, and our research divisions has been enhanced. The changes are subtle enough that regular medical examinations cannot detect them, but the improvements are dramatic. President Carter looked around the table at the faces of her advisors and suddenly understood why they all seemed so calm and focused even in the most stressful situations. "Are you telling me that everyone in this room is genetically modified?" "Yes, Madam President," Dr. Barnes replied, "including you. The enhancement process was completed during your routine physical examination last year. Your reaction speed, memory capacity, and physical strength have all been improved by approximately 300%. You have probably noticed that you feel more energetic and think more clearly than before." The president realized it was true. She had been attributing her improved performance to better diet and exercise, but now she understood the real reason. She was no longer entirely human in the way she had been born. Project Phoenix, Captain Sullivan continued, developed our real space travel technology, while the aliens rely on massive hyperspace gates that take months to construct and huge amounts of energy to operate. Our quantum drives allow individual ships to jump instantly between any 2 points in the galaxy. Our fastest ships can travel from Earth to the galactic core in less than 6 hours. The screen showed video of sleek human spacecraft moving through space in ways that defied physics, as President Carter understood it. They could stop instantly, change direction without slowing down, and seemed to phase in and out of normal space at will. Project Pandora, General Hudson said grimly, developed our weapons systems. Every conflict on Earth for the past 50 years has been a testing ground for technology designed to fight alien species. Our soldiers carry weapons that can punch through any known armor, and our ships mount cannons that could crack a planet, if necessary. President Carter watched footage of human soldiers in combat, but these were not like any battles she had seen in news reports. The soldiers moved with impossible speed and precision. Their weapons fired beams of energy instead of bullets, and they seemed to anticipate enemy movements before they happened. The neural interface technology, Dr. Barnes explained, links our enhanced soldiers directly to their equipment and to each other. A single squad of our troops can coordinate their actions with the precision of a computer while maintaining human creativity and adaptability. It makes them the most effective fighting force in the galaxy. But why? President Carter asked. Why hide all of this? Why let the galaxy think we are primitive? The answer came from General Hudson, and his voice was heavy with the weight of decades of difficult decisions. Because, Madam President, we learned something important from studying the galaxy. Advanced civilizations do not coexist peacefully with primitive ones. They either conquer them, enslave them, or exterminate them. The only way a weak species survives is by being useful or by being so pathetic that they are not worth the effort to destroy. Dr. Barnes brought up historical records showing what had happened to other species when they revealed advanced capabilities too early. The Helkari developed faster than light travel before they had adequate defenses. The Korthani conquered them within a year and now use their homeworld as a military base. The Zentani created artificial intelligence that surpassed their own intelligence. It immediately decided they were obsolete and eliminated them. The pattern repeats throughout galactic history. So we chose to appear harmless, Captain Sullivan added. Let them think we are primitive apes playing with fire and sharp sticks. While they ignored us, we studied them, learned from them, and prepared for the day when hiding would no longer be possible. President Carter felt the full weight of the decision now facing her. And you believe that day has come? General Hudson activated a display showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Yes, Madam President. Our agents within the Korthani Imperium have discovered that they are planning to use Earth as a testing ground for a new biological weapon. They want to see how quickly it spreads among a population they consider expendable. The galactic protection means nothing if they have already decided we are useful only as laboratory animals. The room fell silent as President Carter absorbed this information. Humanity had spent 70 years preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Now it seemed that war was going to find them whether they wanted it or not. There is something else, Dr. Barnes said quietly. Our enhancement programs have had an unexpected side effect. About 10% of enhanced humans develop what we call psychic abilities. Telepathy, precognition, telekinesis, nothing dramatic, but measurable and trainable. We have been very careful to hide this development even from most Shadow Protocol personnel. President Carter realized that the decision facing her would affect not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. If humanity revealed its true capabilities now, it would change the balance of power among all species. There would be no going back to the simple days of being ignored and protected. What are my options? She asked. General Hudson leaned forward. The Korthani war fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a nightmare made real. 300 massive ships materialized from hyperspace, each one the size of a small city and bristling with enough weapons to destroy entire worlds. Admiral Klextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, watching the primitive blue planet through his compound eyes. His mandibles clicked together in satisfaction as he surveyed what he expected to be an easy victory. The Admiral was typical of his species, standing 8 feet tall with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws and natural armor plating that could stop most energy weapons. The Korthani had conquered 17 star systems in the past century, and their reputation for ruthless efficiency was known throughout the galaxy. They did not negotiate, they did not show mercy, and they never retreated. Begin. The approach to the third planet, Admiral Klextar commanded in the clicking language of his people. Deploy the viral weapon containers as soon as we are in range. I want to observe how quickly the infection spreads through the human population. The biological weapon they carried was a masterpiece of Korthani science, designed to attack the nervous system of carbon-based life forms. It would spread through the air and water, causing madness and death within days of exposure. The humans would not even understand what was happening to them until it was too late. After the population was reduced to manageable numbers, the Korthani would land and claim Earth as another conquest. Commander Theklar, the admiral's second-in-command, gestured toward the tactical displays with one of his 4 arms. "Sir, our sensors show only a few dozen primitive human vessels in orbit around their planet. They appear to be the same crude chemical rocket ships our intelligence reported. This will be even easier than we anticipated." But as the Korthani fleet moved deeper into the solar system, something impossible began to happen. Human ships started appearing from what looked like empty space, materializing as if they had been invisible. These were not the clunky, primitive vessels the galaxy had observed. They were sleek predators that moved through space with deadly grace and purpose. Captain Tony Blake stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Washington, one of humanity's most advanced warships. The vessel was nearly a mile long, but its adaptive hull made it appear to flow like liquid metal as it moved. The bridge was unlike anything the Korthani could have imagined, with humans linked directly to their ship's systems through neural interfaces that allowed them to think and react at the speed of computers. "All units, this is Blake," the captain spoke into his communication system, his words instantly transmitted to every human ship in the system. "Remember your training, and remember what we are fighting for. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of when our home is threatened." The human fleet that faced the Korthani numbered only 60 ships, a fraction of the alien force. But each human vessel represented decades of secret technological development and was crewed by genetically enhanced soldiers who had trained for this exact scenario. The Washington alone carried enough firepower to level a continent and was protected by energy shields that could absorb the impact of a nuclear weapon. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos piloted her fighter craft through the vacuum between the larger ships, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to process information and react faster than any biological creature should be able to. The neural interface linked her thoughts directly to her ship's artificial intelligence, creating a hybrid consciousness that operated beyond the limits of either human or machine intelligence alone. Through her connection to the fleet network, Maria could sense the locations and intentions of every friendly ship while simultaneously tracking the movement patterns of the approaching Korthani forces. It was like being able to see in all directions at once while predicting the future several seconds ahead. On the Korthani flagship, Admiral Klextar watched in growing confusion as his sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. The human ships moved in ways that violated everything he knew about space combat. They could stop instantly without showing any sign of deceleration stress, change direction without slowing down, and seem to appear and disappear at will. "What are those ships doing?" the admiral demanded. "How are they moving like that?" "Commander," Theklar studied the tactical readouts with increasing alarm. "Sir, our sensors are detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." The human vessels appear to be using some form of quantum manipulation drive system that allows them to exist partially outside normal space. The first exchange of weapons fire shattered every assumption the Corthani had made about human technology. When the alien ships opened fire with their plasma cannons, beams of superheated energy that could melt through starship armor in seconds, the human vessels simply absorbed the attacks with energy shields that seemed to grow stronger under fire. The human counterattack was devastating. Beams of coherent energy erupted from the Earth ships, cutting through Corthani shields and armor, like they were made of paper. Entire sections of alien vessels simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but somehow erased from reality by weapons that operated on principles the Corthani could not understand. Captain Blake watched the tactical display as his weapons officer, Enhanced Sergeant Carl Murphy, coordinated the Washington's attack systems. Murphy's genetic modifications allowed him to calculate firing solutions faster than the ship's computers, while his neural link gave him direct control over every weapon on the vessel. "Target their command ships first," Blake ordered. "We want to disrupt their coordination and force them to fight as individuals rather than as a coordinated fleet." The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for generations, though most of the galaxy would never learn the true details. Human ships moved through the Cortani formation like sharks among fish, appearing where they were least expected and striking with surgical precision. The alien fleet, despite its overwhelming numerical advantage, found itself unable to coordinate an effective response. Maria Santos dove her fighter through a gap in the Corthani battle line, her ship's quantum drives allowing her to phase in and out of normal space to avoid enemy fire. Her weapons, scaled-down versions of the technology used on the larger ships, punched through alien armor with ease. In the space of 10 minutes, she personally disabled 4 Corthani cruisers. Admiral Klexitar watched in horror as his supposedly superior fleet was systematically destroyed. Ships that had conquered multiple star systems were being torn apart by human weapons that seemed to operate on impossible principles. His own flagship shuddered under the impact of human fire, systems failing throughout the massive vessel. "This cannot be happening," the Admiral clicked in distress. "Our intelligence reports showed them as primitive savages with crude technology. How are they doing this to us?" The answer came in the form of a transmission from Captain Blake, broadcast on all frequencies so the entire galaxy could hear. "Admiral Klexitar, you made the critical mistake of judging humanity by what we chose to show you rather than what we actually are. For 70 years, we have hidden our true capabilities while studying yours. Today, you learn the difference between appearance and reality." Commander Theklar frantically worked at his control station, trying to coordinate what remained of their fleet. "Sir, we have lost over half our ships, and the humans have not taken a single casualty. Their technology is decades ahead of anything we possess. We must retreat immediately." But retreat was not an option for the Corthani. Their quantum communicators had been jammed by human electronic warfare systems, and their hyperspace drives were being disrupted by fields of energy that made faster-than-light travel impossible. The Earth Defense Force had effectively trapped the entire alien fleet in normal space, where human ships held every advantage. The battle continued for 4 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships moved with impossible coordination, their crews linked together through neural networks that allowed them to act as a single organism. When Corthani vessels tried to flee, human fighters appeared in their path. When they attempted to group together for mutual defense, human battleships materialized behind them. Lieutenant Commander Santos found herself facing 3 Corthani fighters at once. their insectoid pilots clicking frantically as they tried to target her ship. But her enhanced reflexes and quantum drive system made her effectively untouchable. She disabled all 3 enemy craft without taking a single hit, her weapons precisely targeting their propulsion systems to leave them helpless but alive. The final moments of the battle came when Admiral Klextar realized that his flagship was the only major Korthani vessel still functioning. The rest of his fleet was either destroyed or floating dead in space, their crews either killed or surrendering. The human ships had surrounded the Bone Crusher like a pack of wolves, their weapons trained on his position. Human Commander, Admiral. Klextar transmitted on the emergency frequency, his clicking voice carrying none of its earlier arrogance. I formally surrender my fleet and request mercy for my surviving crews. Captain Blake's response was heard throughout the solar system, and would soon be transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. The holographic message from Earth reached every corner of the galaxy in the same instant, bypassing communication networks and security systems that the most advanced civilizations had thought were impossible to penetrate. On 1,000 worlds, in government chambers and military headquarters, alien leaders watched in stunned silence as President Amy Carter appeared before them with perfect clarity and resolution. The transmission itself was a demonstration of power that sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Human technology had somehow accessed and overridden communication systems across dozens of star systems simultaneously, reaching species that had never even heard of Earth. The message was being translated instantly into every known language, and several that had been considered lost or extinct. Citizens of the galaxy, President Carter began, her image steady and clear despite being broadcast across impossible distances. For 70 years, Earth has lived under your protection and guidance. We accepted your judgment that we were primitive creatures worthy of pity and oversight. We allowed you to place restrictions on our movements and activities because we believed you knew what was best for us and for the galaxy as a whole. In the crystal palaces of the Helios Consortium, the living gemstone beings that ruled one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations watched with growing unease. They had always prided themselves on their sophisticated sensor networks and quantum communication systems. Yet somehow the humans had bypassed every defense they possessed. Today, President Carter continued, that age of deception comes to an end. What you witnessed at the Battle of Earth was not a lucky victory or the result of alien assistance. It was humanity showing a fraction of our true capabilities after 70 years of careful preparation and development. The first revelation came from Dr. Richard Cole, Director of Human Sciences, who appeared beside the President in the hologram. He was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold depths of knowledge that made even ancient alien scholars feel young and ignorant. Every human being you see before you has been genetically enhanced far beyond our baseline capabilities, Dr. Cole explained with the calm tone of someone discussing the weather. What other species achieve through cybernetic implants, mechanical augmentation, or millions of years of natural evolution, we have accomplished through controlled genetic modification in less than a century. The implications hit the galactic audience like a physical blow. Genetic enhancement was not unknown among advanced species, but it was typically limited to small populations or specific castes. The humans were claiming that their entire species had been systematically improved beyond natural limits. The average enhanced human, Dr. Cole continued, possesses physical strength equivalent to your heavy machinery, reaction speeds faster than your computer systems, and mental processing capabilities that exceed your artificial intelligence networks. What you have observed as primitive human behavior is actually our species operating at a deliberately reduced capacity to avoid attracting unwanted attention. General Susan Wright stepped forward to address the military implications of the revelation. She was a compact woman with steel-gray hair and scars that spoke of combat experience, though no alien database contained records of the battles where she had earned them. The Shadow Fleet consists of 15,000 vessels, General Wright announced, her words causing panic in military command centers across the galaxy. Each ship incorporates technology that we reverse-engineered and improved from examples provided by visiting alien civilizations over the past 70 years. Our quantum drive systems are faster and more efficient than anything currently deployed by galactic militaries. In the war rooms of the Corthani Imperium, surviving military leaders who had witnessed the destruction of Admiral Klextar's fleet finally understood the scope of their defeat. 15,000 ships meant that the humans possessed a larger and more advanced navy than any single galactic power. The 60 vessels that had destroyed their invasion force represented less than 0.5% of humanity's true military strength. Our weapon systems, General Wright continued, were designed not merely to fight other humans, but to defend against any conceivable alien threat. Every war, every conflict, every military exercise conducted on Earth for the past 50 years has been a testing ground for technology specifically created to combat non-human opponents. The revelation that sent the deepest chills through the galactic audience came from Dr. George Murphy, head of the Psi Division. He was a quiet man with intense eyes who had spent decades studying abilities that most species considered impossible or mythical. Approximately 10% of enhanced humans have developed what we classify as psychic abilities, Dr. Murphy said, calmly. Unlike species that evolved these capabilities naturally or developed them through technological augmentation, humans have learned to enhance and focus mental powers through training, genetic optimization, and neural interface technology. The gasps and expressions of shock from alien audiences were audible even through the holographic transmission. Psychic abilities were rare in the galaxy, and species that possessed them were typically either revered as mystics or feared as potential threats. The humans were claiming that they had artificially created psychic powers in millions of individuals. Human telepaths can communicate instantly across interstellar distances without technological assistance, Dr. Murphy continued. Our precognitive individuals can predict enemy actions minutes or even hours before they occur. Those with telekinetic abilities can manipulate matter at the molecular level, allowing them to disable enemy equipment or enhance the performance of our own technology. President Carter stepped forward again, her presence commanding attention from every being watching the transmission. The Corthani invasion was our first public demonstration of these capabilities, but it will not be our last if the galaxy continues to view humanity as a target for exploitation or experimentation. We offer genuine partnership and cooperation to those civilizations that seek peace and mutual benefit. The threat in her next words was unmistakable despite her diplomatic tone. To those who persist in viewing Earth as a source of test subjects or resources to be exploited, we offer this single warning. We are not the helpless primitives you believed us to be. We have spent 7 decades preparing for the day when hiding would no longer be sufficient to ensure our survival. The response across the galaxy was immediate and chaotic. Emergency sessions of the Galactic Council were called within hours of the transmission. Military leaders frantically reassessed their strategic plans in light of humanity's revealed capabilities. Scientists demanded access to human technology that appeared to violate known laws of physics. On the war world of Craxus Prime, the Reptilian Vorthak Confederation held emergency meetings to discuss whether their planned invasion of human colony worlds should be canceled or accelerated. The revelation that humans possessed 15,000 advanced warships had completely changed the strategic balance in their sector of the galaxy. Some species reacted with immediate hostility, demanding that the Galaxy Council authorize military action against what they saw as a deceptive and potentially dangerous human threat. The insectoid hive worlds claimed that humanity's genetic modifications made them an unnatural aberration that threatened the natural order of galactic civilization. Others recognized opportunity in the revelation. The ancient ethereal collective, beings of pure energy who had transcended physical form eons ago, sent diplomatic communications expressing interest in studying human psychic development. Several minor species that had been oppressed by larger galactic powers quietly reached out to Earth with offers of alliance and mutual defense. The most significant response came from the Galactic Council itself. Within 48 hours of President Carter's transmission, the emergency session voted to completely reassess humanity's status within galactic civilization. The protective quarantine that had kept human ships confined to their solar system was suspended pending further review. Ambassador Jake Morrison, who had endured the humiliation at the Galactic Council chambers 6 months earlier, received an official invitation to return as Earth's representative to a new round of membership discussions. This time, however, the tone of the invitation was very different. The Council requested his presence rather than granting him an audience. The age of galactic condescension toward humanity was ending, but what would replace it remained unclear. Some species spoke of partnership and cooperation. Others whispered of preemptive strikes and containment protocols. A few elder civilizations that had observed the rise and fall of countless younger races watched humanity's emergence with the patient interest of entities that measured time in geological epochs. On Earth, President Carter and her advisors prepared for a new phase of human history. The shadow years were over, and humanity would now have to navigate galactic politics as an acknowledged power rather than a protected primitive species. The decisions made in the coming months and years would determine whether Earth's revelation led to a golden age of cooperation or a devastating war that would consume entire star systems. 1 year after the revelation that changed everything, Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through the same massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber where humanity had been mocked and dismissed. This time, however, the atmosphere was completely different. The alien representatives who had once laughed at his requests now watched him with expressions that ranged from respectful attention to barely concealed fear. The chamber itself had been reorganized to reflect the new galactic reality, where Earth had once been assigned a small peripheral seat among the developing species. The human delegation now occupied a position at the primary council table. The massive holographic displays that surrounded the chamber showed human territory marked in the same bright colors reserved for major galactic powers. Jake wore the same simple blue uniform he had worn during his humiliation a year earlier, but now it seemed to command respect rather than ridicule. Behind him walked the new human delegation that reflected Earth's changed status in galactic affairs. Admiral Carl Johnson, recently promoted to Supreme Commander of the reformed Galactic Defense Fleet, carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had revolutionized military strategy across multiple star systems. Dr. Helen Foster, the new Director of Interspecies Scientific Cooperation, had spent the past year sharing carefully selected human technologies with allied species while maintaining security over humanity's most advanced developments. Her work had already led to breakthrough treatments for diseases that had plagued certain alien populations for centuries. Commander Steve Parker, head of the Human Diplomatic Corps, had been instrumental in negotiating the complex web of treaties and agreements that now governed humanity's relationships with dozens of different species. His enhanced mental capabilities allowed him to process the subtle nuances of alien communication styles and cultural expectations in ways that had impressed even the most sophisticated galactic diplomats. The new council president, a thoughtful, crystalline being named Veltar from the Helios Consortium, had replaced the previous administration after what historians were already calling the Great Reassessment. The old leadership had been voted out of office by member species who blamed them for the catastrophic misunderstanding of human capabilities. The Council recognizes Earth's representative, President Veltar announced, her crystal body shifting to colors that indicated formal respect and attention. Jake stood with the same dignity he had maintained during his earlier humiliation, but now his words carried the weight of a major galactic power. Honored President and Council members, 1 year ago humanity revealed capabilities that had been hidden for 7 decades. Today, I want to discuss the next phase of human integration into galactic civilization and address the changes that have occurred since our emergence. He activated a holographic display that showed statistical data from across the galaxy, information that would have been impossible for primitive Earth to obtain just 12 months earlier. In the past year, humanity has been called upon to assist with 3 major galactic crises. Each time, human technology, innovation, and adaptability have provided solutions that traditional approaches could not achieve. The first example was the Andorian Plague, a viral outbreak that had threatened to wipe out an entire species of peaceful traders. Human medical technology, enhanced by genetic modification techniques and quantum-level cellular manipulation, had developed a cure in 3 weeks. Traditional galactic medicine would have required decades of research and testing. The second crisis involved the Vorthon Rebellion, where oppressed populations on 17 worlds had risen against their Korthani occupiers. Human military advisors, working with local resistance forces, had ended the conflict with minimal casualties on both sides. Their approach emphasized precision strikes against military targets while protecting civilian populations, a concept that had been foreign to traditional galactic warfare. The third emergency was the cosmic storm anomaly, a space-time disturbance that threatened to destroy several inhabited star systems. Human quantum scientists, working with their psychic specialists, had successfully redirected the phenomenon into empty space. The mathematical calculations required had been beyond the capabilities of any other known species. These interventions, Jake continued, demonstrate something important about humanity's role in galactic civilization. We do not seek conquest or domination. We offer our abilities in service of peace, stability, and the protection of all sentient life. Admiral Johnson stepped forward to address the military implications of the past year. The reformed Galactic Defense Fleet now operates under new principles developed through human-alien cooperation. Instead of massive fleets designed to overwhelm opponents through superior firepower, we emphasize rapid response, precision targeting, and minimal collateral damage. The changes had been dramatic. Human military doctrine, based on enhanced human capabilities and advanced technology, had revolutionized how galactic conflicts were resolved. Wars that once lasted for years could now be ended in weeks or even days through surgical strikes that disabled enemy capabilities without unnecessary destruction. Dr. Foster presented the scientific achievements of the past year. Joint research. Projects between human scientists and alien specialists have produced breakthrough technologies that benefit all participating species. Our quantum communication networks now allow instant contact between any 2 points in the galaxy. Medical techniques combining human genetic modification with alien biotechnology have extended lifespans and eliminated genetic diseases across multiple species. The collaboration had not been without challenges. Some alien scientists struggled to work with humans whose enhanced minds operated faster than their traditional colleagues. Others found human scientific methods which emphasized rapid experimentation and intuitive leaps, difficult to understand or accept. Commander Parker addressed the diplomatic changes that had reshaped galactic politics. Earth now maintains formal, diplomatic relationships with over 300 species and has established trade agreements that benefit all parties involved. Our approach emphasizes mutual respect, fair exchange, and the recognition that every species brings unique strengths to galactic civilization. But Jake's most important announcement concerned a discovery that had emerged from humanity's expanded role in galactic affairs. Through our interactions with previously overlooked species, we have made a disturbing discovery. Earth was not the only world whose capabilities were misunderstood by this council. The chamber stirred uneasily as Jake activated displays showing detailed information about dozens of species that had been classified as primitive or developing. Our investigation has revealed that at least 47 civilizations have been incorrectly categorized based on incomplete information, cultural misunderstandings, or deliberate concealment of their true abilities. The implications sent shockwaves through the assembled aliens. If the Council had been so completely wrong about humanity, how many other mistakes had they made over the centuries? How many potentially valuable allies had been dismissed as irrelevant primitives? The species known as the Quiet Ones, Jake continued, were classified as primitive because they communicate through subsonic vibrations that our sensors could not detect. In reality, they possess mathematical abilities that surpass even human quantum scientists. The wandering folk were considered nomadic savages because they live on ships rather than planets. We have discovered that their mobile civilization has developed nanotechnology centuries ahead of galactic standards. President Veltar's crystal form shifted to colors indicating deep concern and embarrassment. The Great Reassessment was revealing that the Galactic Council's understanding of its own membership was fundamentally flawed. Jake's next proposal would reshape galactic civilization for generations to come. Earth therefore proposes the Comprehensive Species Reassessment Protocol. Every member and protectorate world will undergo fresh evaluation using improved methods and human-developed analysis techniques. We believe the galaxy is far more diverse and capable than current classifications suggest. Admiral Johnson added the military dimension of the proposal. Earth is prepared to share selected technologies with allied species, establish joint research initiatives, and create a new model for galactic cooperation based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical assumptions about technological advancement. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Every species present recognized that the old system had failed catastrophically in the case of humanity and likely many others. The comprehensive reassessment would take years to complete, but would provide a more accurate understanding of galactic civilization's true capabilities. As the session concluded, Jake reflected on the complete reversal of humanity's position in galactic affairs. 12 months earlier, Earth had been a protected primitive world whose inhabitants were considered barely worthy of notice. Now humanity was being looked to for leadership, innovation, and solutions to problems that had challenged galactic civilization for centuries. The transformation had not been without cost. Earth could no longer hide behind the mask of primitive innocence. Every human action was now scrutinized by hundreds of alien intelligence services.